65 million years ago, when the last of the non-avian dinosaurs were winking their way out of existence, our own family saw its origins in the ancient treetops of a shrouded forest. Honestly, picking a candidate to start off a series on human evolution is somewhat arbitrary. We could go way back into the past with Luca, the last universal common ancestor.
We could start with our fishapod ancestors, Tiktaalik or Eusthenopteron, or our synapsid relatives, the Dimetrodons, or perhaps those that made it through the Permian in the Cynodonts.
But I think, and I promise I'm not biased as a primatologist in training, that the best place to start is with the dawn of the primates. Humans are somewhat unique among the primates, and primates are certainly unique among the mammals, so it seems like a decent place to begin our journey.
And so, it is in that lonely canopy that we find what may be the first primate, listlessly scuttling through the branches, Purgatorius. Purgatorius is a so-called protoprimate, a tree shrew-like animal that on first glance just looks like a tree shrew. But Purgatorius is unique indeed, because lurking in this unassuming little mammal are the precursors to the traits modern zoologists use to define what a primate is. It's a eutherian mammal, small and arboreal with adaptations to match. It's lightweight, has claw-tipped digits, and a long tail which may help it balance as it dodges some of the other up-and-comers of the mammalian and reptilian world. For a while there was some debate on whether or not Purgatorius could be claimed as the earliest known primate, or whether it belonged to an entirely different eutherian mammal branch.
And so, to define what makes Purgatorius a primate, we sort of have to define a primate, now don't we? After all, the first problem one faces when investigating this family's origins is what separates the primates from other mammals? What makes us unique? And honestly, it's not super difficult to define as long as we're looking at the modern members of this group. We're looking at our Old World monkeys, New World monkeys, lorises, lemurs, tarsiers, you've got your great apes, and of course you've got your humans.
Now, fossil species can be a bit harder to nail down, so the question is, looking at morphology, what traits do primates have that other mammals lack, and where does Purgatorius fit in? Living primates are unusual in they rely heavily on vision as their primary sense, and this is reflected in the skull by orbits that are close together, giving binocular vision, and bounded by a postorbital bar. Primates also typically have hands and feet that are well designed for grasping, with long fingers, opposable toes and thumbs, and big nails rather than claws on most of their digits. Other skeletal traits that are beneficial for moving about in the trees can be seen in the ankles and the wrists. Finally, living primates eat a lot of fruit, and as such, members of the order generally have features of the teeth that reflect this, including big molars for grinding up fruits in a mortar and pestle type arrangement. Purgatorius is an arboreal mammal with grasping hands and feet and hypermobile ankles for maneuvering about in the branches. It beats out the Plesiadapids in age, with its dental formula being 3-1-4-3, one more incisor and one more premolar than the Plesiadapids, which have a 2-1-3-3 formula. But both lack the dental formula of the haplorhines, 2-1-2-3, which is also our dental formula. You may be wondering, why so much emphasis on teeth? Who cares? But the dental formula is an excellent tool for paleontologists, as teeth are the most robust organic material and thus preserve quite well. You can also get a lot of information about an animal's lifestyle from its teeth, what it eats, and how old it was when it died.
Great! So we've got another rodent-like mammal, just like all the other rodent-like mammals, except this one has a few derived primate-like traits. So what? Furthermore, why did it happen? Well, the emergence of Purgatorius in the fossil record coincides with the entrance of another rather large event.
The North American MegaFlora. Out in the western interior of the continent, fruits were getting supersized, and their seeds were along with them. Bigger fruits, which were bigger by mutation and thus chance, were favored by the fruit-eating mammals. They chowed down and later pooped out the seeds in new locations, effectively spreading the genes of the larger fruiting bodies. Larger fruits produce larger flowers, which attract larger pollinators, tasty snacks for an up-and-coming insect opportunist.
That's not to say bigger is always better. These large seed-producing fruits would only attract small seed-dispersing mammals until they were just too large for these mammals to exploit.
As such, there would be a point where size would be a disadvantage for these fruits because mammals simply wouldn't find them attractive. Larger fruits have thicker skins, and gnawing through a fruit of a massive size would mean less time looking around for predators. In this case, the fruits would undergo stabilizing selection for a moderate but not too large size. And in a world with an emerging radiation of fruits, evolution may have favored the generalist, a niche primates are notoriously good at filling. With an abundance in tree fruits, arboreality became all the rage, and with that, arboreal adaptations were selected for. Primates are arguably the best in the trees today, so it's no surprise that in a period that requires arboreality, we see the origin of the primates.
65 million years ago, the world would have been an absolute playground for Purgatorius, and its descendants would do just as well. Because after the proto-primates, we meet the next step on the ladder of human evolution.
The Plesiadapiforms. With their 2-1-3-3 dental formula adapted for gnawing and crushing, these rodent-like animals were beginning to look more like the traditional primate. They still had eye orbits kind of to the side, where all modern primates have eyes in the front of the skull, but much of the skull minutiae looks quite primate-like. One species, Carpolestes simpsoni, even had a divergent big toe with a nail. Plesiadapis, a species known from several specimens preserved in ancient lakes, was over 2.5 feet long and was also an arboreal dweller. Some have proposed that Plesiadapis was a carnivore, while others have suggested an omnivorous opportunist. Either way, this genus would do quite well, and its name, meaning near Adapis, may have given rise to the first, quote, true, unquote, primates, the ancestor of the lemur, the Adapids. But lurking there in the evening dusk were our own distant relatives, the omomyoids. And next time we'll travel through the Eocene with these animals to see just what made them adapt and live as they did.
But whatever the driver, all primates, both extinct and extant, owe their existence to the surge of resources in the Cretaceous and the foraging selection of Purgatorius.